Hi, welcome back. Right, we've got some Ogroid Thermidons? Ogroid Thermidons, I do believe. Yeah, we've built them as the command. Um, I've based them standard way. I've put a couple of scores on the base, put some sharp sand around some areas, and then some play sand for the finer stuff in some other areas on all three. Base coated them with grey cere. Um, yeah, really nice models to put together, really easy. Um, got lots of different variants on the heads as well for these two, and I do believe the axes they were a variant as well. So yeah, really nice kit to put together. Went well. Really looking forward to getting these painted. What I am going to start with is some Doom Ball Brown. Where is it? Just there. Doom Ball Brown. I'm going to go over all the skin areas with this. Nice big brush. Move these two out of the way because we're going to be concentrating on this guy. Yeah, Doom Ball Brown on the skin. Just try and be as neat as possible. Not worried too much about the fur at this point, but we want to get all the skin that we can. Like so. Working our way around. If it goes onto the fur, I'm not too worried because it'll kind of blend in a little bit. Oh. Just going to try to move the camera to that. See if that's any better. So I'm not getting in my own way and looking things up. You can actually see what I'm painting now, right? Yeah. So yeah, take time and go across the whole model. I mean, if you go on bits where you don't want the Doom Ball Brown, then that's fine. Just tidy it up later. I'll start the tricky bit already. Look, get that in there. Of the releases so far, these have been my favourite. These are very nice models. Same with the hoof. If we go on the hoof a bit, not too worried about that because we can repaint this stuff later. And the metal banding, and we could, if we spill over, then it's not an issue. But try and make it as neat as possible, just to save you a bit of time later. Nice big brush on this because we're going to need it. Got lots of areas to go through. So got these undercoated, nice layer of Doom Ball Brown across them all. Might take a couple of layers, as you can see on this one. Where are we? There we go. Focus. Focus. There we go. See on this one, it's a little bit patchy, so it might take a couple of layers. I did notice while I was painting this one in particular, I've forgotten to put on its shoulder pads. So I've cut them out. What have I done to them? I've undercoated them, so I will glue them on. Now there is two types of shoulder pads for each one. You've got like a I have no idea of the types of armor, but you got this one that's a bit more angular, and it's got a bit more of a. Sorry, you got this one that is a bit more angular, and it's got a bit more of an up neck guard. Not that it really protects their necks, but that's that one. And then you got this one, which is just like a straight up rounded shoulder pad and camera won't focus. There we go. Straight up rounded shoulder pad that sits on his shoulder. So I'll get them fixed onto place for him. But what I'm going to do next is, after you've got your coat, your layers of Doomball Brown, nice and solid layers, I'm going to take some Ogriod Surfshade and go over the complete area of the skin. Now where the skin meets the fur, the hair, I suppose it's hair, kind of want to overlap it a bit with the Doomball Brow and the Ogriod Surfshade. This will kind of help blend in with each other. So we'll start on this patch. This, because what we're going to do with this is just shade everything straight out the pot. Don't need to mess about. A lot of my paints, unless I've said otherwise, I will use them straight out the pot. I can't be bothered fanning around with wet palettes and things like that, unless it's something in particular, like I want to thin down the Fugan Orange to go in the recesses of the runes on the blades of the Chosen and the Demon Prince. I don't often thin down my paints. I don't often water anything down. I'm definitely not thinning down washes unless I want to build up something gradually. As you can see, it's very messy as well, which is fine. I haven't tidied anything up yet because in the next stage we're going to be doing dry brushing, so it's going to get messy. It's going to get onto bits that I don't want it to get on. So there's no point tidying anything up until we've done with the washes, the dry brushes, all the messy bits. So carefully go across all the skin, wherever you've painted the skin, and get all of that nicely washed. Try not to let it pool into many areas, like there. Look, we don't want it pooling. We want it to shade, but we don't want it to pool. Get in between the legs, most awkward places ever. What I generally do when I'm washing a model like this is I will go around everything and then I will double check what I've already painted. So, like, once I've got all this completed, I will double check the arms, I'll double check where I've put all the wash already, make sure it's not pooling in any particular place. Oh, excuse me. And then if it is pooling, I will mop it up where I can without leaving too many strange tide marks or anything like that. So now the wash was dried of the Ogriod Surfshade. I think I've still got a bit of a pool in the chest there actually, but now it's mostly dried. Well, once it's all dried, you want to take your Doomball Brown and we're going to dry brush in this over all of the skin. A little bit. Take my makeup brush, cheap nasty makeup brush, work it into the bristles, and then we're just going to go kind of like that. Now you're not going to notice loads of change on this because it is just basically relayering your base coat, but it's going to give you some good muscle definition because these are chunky boys. Got lots of muscles. Don't worry about the scars just yet. pick them out later. So go around all your skin and give it a good dry brush. When it comes to the face, and so what I'm going to do is have like a gradient. Let me get my Ogroid. So this guy, what we're going to do something similar like this. So it's quite dark at the back. He's got a bit of a pale under his tail and under his arms. His chest and face again are quite pale. These tend to be your softer spots. So this is kind of the effect that I'm going to try and go for. So when it comes to your dry brushing, try and go a little heavier towards the front and where you want these softer spots to be. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be exactly like that because it's not. But we're going to be as close as we can. So start off with your dry brush, your Doom Ball Brown, all over. Still go all over because you still want that definition even in the darker areas. Even though it might not be as pronounced, you still need it there. See, this is where if you tied it up previously, you'd be regretting it right now because everything's going to be brown. I realise I haven't done it on this, but tend to stick to like a segment at a time. So if I'm dry brushing the head, I'll do all the bits on the head, and then I'll do the neck and go round methodically like that. Whereas this one, I've just kind of done what I can when I can. So, but yeah, you want to be methodical. Make sure you don't really miss any bits. Go a bit harder on the chest. Under there a little bit, under there. Wonderful. So we'll get that done. And then what we want to do is clean our brush a bit more. I'm not going to wet it because we want a dry brush. Excuse me. We're going to take some Mornfang Brown. Basically, we're going to do the same with that. Now, this time we're going to be a bit lighter with Doom Ball Brown still on the brush. It's going to let us blend it a little bit. A bit more of a shake. There we go. It's going to let us blend it a little bit. Still going to have that red sort of Doom Ball Brown going on. And Butterfingers. Still do the same with this. Now on the back where it's going to be darker, we want just a light dry brush, enough to catch the detail and the muscle definition. Where we're going, where it wants to be lighter, we want it heavier. Because this is going to provide a transition for us between that skin tone and the brown fur tone. So it's not making a massive difference, but it's making enough difference. Okay. Probably wasn't the best brush to use for this, but we're using it. Okay. So once we've done that, I'm happy with the overall look. We're going to take some Scrag Brown and do the same. Again, lighter in the paler areas and then lighter in the darker areas and then heavier in the paler areas. I don't need a lot of this one. Okay, work it into the bristles. Okay, so there's not a lot coming off your brush. And then we're going to start lightly on the face, building that up. Knuckles on the hands. Again, we're going to go over the whole thing just to get them sharp edges, highlights going on. Get in there. In there. So, I think we're about there. It's very dark in that chest area still. It's very difficult to get a dry brush in there, that's why. Now you could leave it like that. That looks pretty good, as it is, in my opinion. But we're not. Not today. Right, what do we want? We want something like Cadian flesh tone. Now this is going to be a massive jump between the two. Oh, butterfingers. Proper butterfingers tonight. Yeah, some Cadian flesh tone. Now I'm going to put that in the water because we're done with that big brush. We're going to need a smaller brush because it's going to be a little bit more defined where we're putting this. We're going to get rid of that so we don't contaminate with the flesh tone. Get a fresh bit of tissue. And just dropped it. Fresh bit of kitchen roll. And nice makeup brush again. Going to do the same. I'm just going to work that into the bristles. So there's very little coming off. Now we're going to start on the face because that is our most prominent area. Bit like that. And it's going to look very strange because it's going to be very pink compared to the rest of it. So that's kind of how we want it to look. And then we're going to kind of map out where you want the flesh tone to be. No exact science to this. I mean, you could look at previous pictures of I don't know what you'd look at, to be honest. Animals, fur, different variations of fur. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be some reference pictures out there. Oh, I've gone way too heavy with that. So I'm going to work that in. Get in that neck area, under there. Under there. Get that chest area there, get that chest area there. See if we can brush that off. No, okay. I'm quite happy with that, as it is. So we've got the face, we've got the chest. Can't really see many other places. Could go under the arms a little bit. Let's make it a little bit. Bring it out this way a little bit. A bit more. So we can get under that arm. A little bit more. Don't worry if you go too much because we are going to knock this back a bit afterwards. Get a bit more on that neck. A bit more down there. A bit more on his face. Under his chin. On his ear. I've forgotten, missed his ear. Good. So I'm pleased with that. That's the Cadian flesh tone done with. Now I want some Kislev flesh. And again, we're just going to highlight up with this. And that's really bad, that's really goopy. Is this one any better? No. Give them a good shake. So given that good shake, we've got some on our tissue here. Just work it into the bristles. Again, this wants to be much lighter than the previous one. So start off soft, work our ways up. Just highlight it a little bit. Again, we're going to knock this back, so you want to kind of leave some of that Cadian flesh tone in the recesses, but at the same time you want to highlight as well. A little bit like that. I'm happy with that. Looks bloody awful at the minute. There we go. Looks horrendous. But that's okay, we're going to fix that. Chuck that in there. Get rid of the tissue out of the way, because I don't want to get paint everywhere. So, what we are going to do is we're going to get some Reichland flesh shade, which is right here. Take some Reichland flesh shade, and we're going to put that over all of the paler areas where we've just dry brushed. Just there we go. Look at that. That's better already. Again, we don't want this to pool anywhere. Don't want it to do weird things. So keep it moving. And when it comes to bits that overlap with the brown, it's fine. Go onto the brown a bit. It's not going to hurt. Because of the nature of it, it'll help blend it. So just get in that chest cavity, get in there on the abdominals, I think they're abdominals, anywhere it's gone. Oh, don't let that pool in any weird places. There we go. Let that dry before we move on to the next stage. So now that Reichland flesh shade wash is dried, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out some of the facial details with what's this? Flayed one flesh, just to highlight like the cheekbones and the nose and bits like that. Just that's a lot of paint on my brush. Just going to get that a bit there. Don't need a lot of this because it's quite a big colour. You obviously don't have to do this either. If you're not comfortable doing it, then don't do it. Try and pick out a bit of that lip, not all of it. A bit like that. Get that nostril, get that bit. Get that bit there. That was really out of focus. I do apologise for that. Too concentrating on the actual painting rather than the video, which I suppose is probably one of the better ways. Get that bit. See, I'm happy with that. It doesn't need a lot. Now, what I'm also going to do, now we've done that, just picked out a few little bits. I'm going to get some Volupus pink and just run that into the recesses around the mouth and over the nose. Again, you can water this down. It probably would be better actually if we watered this down because it would flow a bit more easier. So what I'm going to do is get that bit there in there, look. Just like that. Go over the nose, over the whole nose. Gonna, what am I going to do? I'm going to do the inside of the ears. They do have very tiny ears. No, I like that better. Put that back on. Come down here as well, I think. A very angry person. Ogroid. Okay, happy with that. It looks a bit blurry, a bit rough, but we'll tidy that up in a minute. Right, now that we've got that done, what I'm going to do is going to start darkening down the back. I'm going to go over the whole of the fur, avoiding the fleshy bits where we've already done the right from flesh trade. I'm going to go over it with Agrax Earthshade again. Try not to let it pull. And this would kind of bring all our dry brushing into union as well, hopefully. This just wants to be a bit of a light wash, so you could water this down as well, just to make it flow a little bit easier. And while you've got the Volupus pink out, which I should have done, run it into the recesses of any scars. And where the two meet, where you've got your fleshy bit and your fur bit, you can just come over a little bit, overlap a little bit, helps blend it in a little bit. Sells that effect a bit more. No, don't do the scars while you've got the Volupus pink out. Do them after you've got the skin tone right, because we're going over the skin tone and things. So we want all the skin tone to be that, I would say uniform colour, but it's not going to be uniform, is it? But it's going to look weird if you have fresh scars underneath your fur colour. It'll look weird, don't do it. So go over the whole model, concentrating on all the brown bits where we've got. So now with that Agrax Earthshade dry, what I'm going to do is go over it again, but this time I'm going to stay closer towards the back rather than come in around the sides. Come around the sides a little bit. So previously we kind of overlapped with the flesh colours. This time I'm not going to go past sort of this area. I'm going to start there and concentrate coming back. So tops of the arms, come all the way around to the front, but I'm going to stop around there just to get a bit of a gradient. And this is going to be a bit of a slow process because you need to wait for it to dry between each layer, but we're going to do several of these layers across the whole model. Again, I'll come around this side, so we'll come to about there and then back towards the back. Again on the arms, come around to about there. Why won't you focus tonight? Come around to about there, a bit on the forearms. And with the neck, I'm going to go all the way up to the hair, to the back of the head, but only come down to about there, and all the way back. So again on this side, all the way to the back of the head, come down to about there, and then the next layer, I'm going to take that a little bit further back. So going all the way back down here this time, I'm going to come just below the hairline and then follow that all the way around. Obviously we need to let this dry again and then we can move on to the next one. I'm going to also use this as my last coat on the legs. Don't want any more on the legs now. You don't want this to pool anyway, you just literally want to make it wet across the model. It's because I'm sitting weird, so I can't get it in the camera. Hands. What I'm going to do also is just a bit of Saracen Sepia over the face. It doesn't need a lot. I'm going to go over the whole thing. Might be a bit too much, but we're doing it. Bit on the chest, bit in the recesses there, bit in the recesses there. Wipe it off the raised areas. Happy. Let that dry. Yep, let that dry across the whole thing. So we are getting around about the desired effect for this now. So I'm going to do another coat of Agrax Earthshade. Like I said, just taking it up to the hairline. So, starting at the back of the neck, we're going to come from the back of the neck, but we're just going to go kind of like that. Try and feather it a little towards other areas of the skin. And you kind of need to ignore all the other bits in the way at the minute, like the straps and the hair and whatnot. Kind of keep it centered to the center of his back, center to the center. And then come down the tail. Same on this side. Something like that. Spread that a little bit further, I think. Good. Let that dry, see how it looks, and we go from there. Then we'll be ready to start on the other bits, I think. So all that wash is dry now. As you can see, we've got a nice kind of pale, fleshy look. Still kind of downy fur, but it's a bit more paler than the rest on the front, and then it kind of gradients around to dark, almost black down the center of his back. And you can take this as high or as dark or as light as you want. Now, to finish off the skin, you take a small amount of Volupus Pink and carefully, this wants to be a very small amount because this is going to be very careful, carefully pick out the scars to make them look fresh and nasty. Now this is going to be quite hard to show up on the darker areas. Brush is dried already, but still worth doing if you overspill a little bit, and don't worry about it, it just kind of adds to the effect that these are fresh wounds. There is different chaos symbols dotted around the place. I've got one on the leg, just here. Just tracing over it with the Volupus peak. Any more? I thought there was one on the shoulder. Yeah, there is. Just poking underneath that shoulder pad. I think that is it for this guy. Yeah. Got that one, got that one, got that one. Okay. Well, that is the skin finished. I'm happy with that. I'm not going to tidy anything up yet. I'm going to leave it as it is, just to, because I don't know where I'm going to put colours yet. I'm going to do metallics in the metal colours similar to the Chosen and the Demon prints. Strapping is most likely going to be black. Anything that I'm going to use contrast on, I'm going to tidy up, but I'll do that as and when I need it. There's no point tidying up the whole thing if I don't need it. Yeah, that's a good start. Got the other two separate stages. This one's pretty much there. See, it's a very messy job. I don't know how I managed to get it on the banner there, but it is what it is. But they're all looking pretty grim themselves. This one slightly behind the other two, because it turned out I missed this patch of skin here and had to paint over it and dry brush and all sorts again. But it's not far behind. It's just a wash, maybe two behind, and then yeah, be up to the same standard. So I think that's going to be it for this video, and I'll come back with how I'm going to do the rest of it. I'm going to do the armour slightly different on these. I'm going to do it inverted colours. So where before I did it silver with gold trim, I'm not going to do it gold, I'm going to do it brass coloured with silver trim, just to distinguish them a little bit differently. Banner is going to be similar. I'm going to try and use brass as a predominant colour in these, because these little circly things would look quite good in brass, I think. Yeah, that's my plan. But we'll see how it goes. So we'll do similar so they all match with the rest of the army that I've done so far. But thanks for watching.